হ্যাঁ, রেকর্ডটা চালিয়ে দিস বাবা, কাকে আর বলবো, এখানে তো প্রিন্সিপাল ম্যাডাম থাকবে হয়তো, আর আরো হয়তো থাকবে, কে জানি না, আসুক সব বড় বড় লোকের আগে, তারপরে দেখছি। রেকর্ডটা চালিয়ে দিস, রেকর্ডটা দরকার মনে হয় নাও হতে পারে, চালিয়ে রেখে দিস, যদি সবকিছু ঠিকঠাক থাকে তো দরকার নেই। আসুক, জনগণ আসুক, জনগণের জন্য ওয়েট করি। হুম। ইউটিউবে রেডি হয়ে গেছে? হুম। কি আসছে না থাম্বেলটা? কি আসছে না বুঝতে পারছি না, তুই দেখ। আমাদের ইউটিউবে কত ওয়াচ টাইম হলো কি করে দেখা যায়? 1000 হয়েছে পার্টিসিপেন্ট? পয়সা করি দেবে না? পয়সা করি পাওয়া যায় রে ইউটিউব থেকে? হ্যাঁ, শুনতে পাচ্ছি না তোর কথা, কি বলছিস? আরে ইউটিউব থেকে যদি কিছু পয়সা করি পাওয়া যায়, সেই পয়সা কড়ি গুলি আমরা প্রমোশনে কাজে লাগিয়ে দেবো, এরকম কিছু হয় না? হ্যাঁ, ভাই কোথায় কপিরাইট কে বসে আছে? সব সুন্দর সুন্দর আমরা বানাই, কোথায় কপিরাইট? কি বলিস তুই? হ্যাঁ, আমাদের এই যেমন আজকে হবে কথা, পুরো অরিজিনাল আমাদের কন্টেন্ট সব সময়। আমরা চোতা করি ঠিক কথা, কিন্তু এরা এতটা চোতাও করি কি ইউটিউব ধরতে পারে না। হুম। আর কোথায় গেল সব তার ঠিক নেই। শালা। ও, এই আসছে কে, চুপ কর। শর্মিষ্ঠা দি শোনা যাচ্ছে? হ্যালো? তোমার আওয়াজ আসছে না।
হ্যালো?
হ্যাঁ,
হ্যালো?
হ্যাঁ শোনা যাচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ, শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ, তুমি তোমার ছবিটা তো চেঞ্জ করতে হবে বা ভিডিওটা তো অন রাখবে নিশ্চয়ই। ঠিক আছে।
হ্যাঁ। প্রবলেম করছে।
তোমার আওয়াজটা কিন্তু কেটে যাচ্ছে, হ্যাঁ, মাঝে, মাঝে।
তাই?
তোমার ব্যান্ডউইথ লো দেখাচ্ছে এখানে।
আরে দাঁড়া তাহলে বাইরে গিয়ে করছি।
হ্যাঁ।
হ্যাঁ, এবার দেখ তো ঠিক আছে?
হ্যাঁ, ঠিক আছে। তাও লো দেখাচ্ছে। ঠিক আছে, তাও স্টিল
হুম।
ঠিক আছে। ম্যাডাম শুনতে পাচ্ছেন? হ্যালো? হ্যাঁ, ম্যাডাম শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
ইন্দ্রনীল স্যার, গুড আফটারনুন স্যার।
হ্যালো, গুড আফটারনুন।
গুড আফটারনুন স্যার, থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার। মানে এত শর্ট নোটিসে আপনি আমাকে সঙ্গে সঙ্গে হ্যাঁ করেছেন, থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
মিস্টার
গুড আফটারনুন। গুড আফটারনুন স্যার, গুড আফটারনুন ম্যাম।
Hindu, sir, view ঠিক আছে তো?
হ্যাঁ, ম্যাডাম ঠিক আছে। শর্মিষ্ঠা দি একটু কেটে, কেটে যাচ্ছে। হ্যাঁ, তোমার একটু তোমার ব্যান্ডউইথ লো দেখাচ্ছে।
শুভেন্দু, is it fine now?
ইন্দ্রনীল স্যার, বলছি এখানে খুব বেশি পার্টিসিপেন্ট থাকবে না, হ্যাঁ স্যার। আমাদের মানে ম্যাক্সিমাম পার্টিসিপেন্ট, অ্যাকচুয়ালি আমরা ইউটিউবে এটা ব্রডকাস্ট করছি, অ্যাট দ্য সেম টাইমে আমাদের ফেসবুকে এটা লাইভ সেশন হচ্ছে, ঠিক আছে স্যার। ওই জন্য স্টুডেন্ট বা বাকি পার্টিসিপেন্টসদেরকে আমরা সব ইউটিউবের লিঙ্কটা পাঠিয়ে দিয়েছি।
ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে।
ওই জন্য একটুখানি 2 মিনিট দেখে নিচ্ছি যারা ইউটিউবে যারা ইয়ে করবে। ওই শুভেন্দু আছে আমাদের অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট প্রফেসর সিএসসি ডিপার্টমেন্টে, আর পল্লব আছে ইলেকট্রিক্যালের অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট প্রফেসর। এরা দুজনে একটু চেক করে নিচ্ছে স্যার, হ্যাঁ, ওই ভিউটা ঠিক আছে কিনা সবকিছু। পল্লব, তোমরা দুজনে চেক করে নাও। আর শর্মিষ্ঠা বাসু ও অ্যাঙ্কারিংটা করবে আজকে। আর স্যার আগের দিন তো আপনার সঙ্গে পরিচয় হয়েছে, বড় মিটিং এ তো সেভাবে পরিচয় হয়নি। মিসেস নিধি সিং ও হচ্ছে আমাদের এনআইটি রেজিস্ট্রার।
Yes, I just
আগের
Good
দিন
afternoon,
বলেছেন
sir.
স্যার।
did the meeting last Saturday. Yes.
Yes, sir.
শর্মিষ্ঠা,
হ্যালো?
হ্যাঁ, এখন বলা যাবে তো, কিছু বলো।
আমি তো এখান থেকে করছি, এভরিথিং ইজ ফাইন উইথ মি। এবার একটুখানি করো যে বাইরে
ঠিক
থেকে
আছে,
বলছি।
তাহলে মোটামুটি ঠিকই আছে। তুমি
ম্যাডাম
শুরু করে দেবে তাহলে।
শর্মিষ্ঠা ম্যাডাম ভিডিওটা একবার অন করে একবার সেট হয়ে নিন না।
হ্যাঁ, শর্মিষ্ঠা ভিডিও অন করো।
কি হচ্ছে, অনেক ছবি দেখাচ্ছে শর্মিষ্ঠা বাসু, তো ভিডিও অন করলেও নেটওয়ার্কের প্রবলেম হচ্ছে।
শুভেন্দু, জাস্ট গিভ মি 2 মিনিটস টাইম, আমি আরেকটা থেকে অন হচ্ছি।
আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে।
শুভেন্দু এবার
হ্যাঁ আসছে, একটুখানি ল্যান্ডস্কেপে করে নেবে না? তোমার তাও কেটে কেটে যাচ্ছে একটু, ঠিক আছে তুমি দেখা যাক কি হয়।
এরকম হচ্ছে কি জানে।
So, Mr. Are you ready?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
So, Shubhamu, then you can go live then.
এক সেকেন্ড, ম্যাডাম রেডি হয়ে যাক। ম্যাডাম রেডি তো? সবাই রেডি তাই তো?
আই এম
পল্লব,
রেডি।
পল্লব পল্লব হয়ে গেছে ওখানে? পল্লব ইউটিউবে হয়ে গেছে?
পাঠিয়েছে না।
আচ্ছা, তাহলে শর্মিষ্ঠা দি,
হ্যাঁ 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 বলো।
বলছি যে আমি যখন লাইভ এখানে স্টার্ট করব তখন তোমাকে প্রিপেয়ারিং দেখাবে। প্রিপেয়ারিং এর পর তোমরা সবাই দেখতে পাবে যে ইট মিনস ইটস লাইভ নাও এরকম দেখাবে, ঠিক আছে?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ
তো
হ্যাঁ
তারপরে তুমি স্টার্ট করো, ঠিক আছে?
পাঠিয়েছে ম্যাম।
ওকে, আমি দেখছি, আমি
পাঠিয়েছে।
করার ক্লিক
হ্যাঁ
করার
অ্যাবসলিউটলি ফাইন।
লাস্ট ক্লিক করার আগে বলে দেবো। হ্যাঁ,
তারপরে সৌমিত্র ঠেলে পাঠিয়েছে।
So, Mr. You be ready, it's getting live. It's going to be live. Please.
শর্মিষ্ঠা দি ভিডিও অন করো, ঠিক আছে তো? তাহলে আমি ঠিক আছে তো, রেডি তো শর্মিষ্ঠা? ঠিক আছে, তাহলে আমি জাস্ট প্রেস করছি, তুমি যখন ওখানে দেখতে পাবে যে লাইভ স্টার্ট হয়ে গেছে, ইউ ক্যান স্টার্ট। হ্যাঁ, ইউ ক্যান স্টার্ট। ওকে,
ঠিক আছে। Very good afternoon and a warm welcome to all our viewers. So welcome you on this week-long program organized by Narula Institute of Technology on the eve of Engineers Day. Now we know that since from morning, from waking up from bed till going to bed at night, we can't do without engineering. The innovations of engineering, these are worldwide, and with the advancement of technology, it is growing day by day. So basically, engineers are the foundations and cornerstones of our society. Narula Institute of Technology has taken up this initiative to celebrate this week-long Engineers Day. And the first day, it is starting from today, and we are going to continue with different events cutting across the whole week. The events would comprise of talk show, listening from the experts, debates, technical quiz, and many other events. So at first, today we have with us our honorable eminent experts. So at first, I am going to request our Honorable Principal Ma'am of Narula Institute of Technology, Professor Dr. Moitrey Ray Kanjilal, to please address our viewers. Over to you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Shormishta. I welcome all the participants And also specially I welcome Professor Indranil Sengupta sir. He has accepted my invitations. Already Shormishta has mentioned that from the morning to night, every step, without the engineers, we cannot move away. Actually, for the growth of the nation, for the growth of the society, the role of engineers is really a commendable, and without this, it is not possible to build up the nation, to build up the society. So, to make the tribute to our greatest Indian engineers, Bharat Ratna engineer Vishweshwara, who is basically civil engineering, to make the tribute to him, 15 September is celebrated as the Engineers Day to mark the tribute to all the engineers. I will not take much time. Today with us, Professor Indranil Sengupta and Professor Ajay Kumar Ray, they will enlighten us on this eve of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, as always, for your inspiring words for our viewers. So we have with us today two eminent personalities. So at first, I'm going to introduce in front of you Professor Indranil Sengupta. So to just give a very short profile about Professor Sengupta, he obtained his BTech, MTech, and PhD degrees in computer science engineering from the University of Calcutta in the year 1983, 85, and 1990, respectively. He joined Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, as a faculty member in 1988 in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, where he is presently a full-time professor. He has been the former heads of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering and School of Information Technology. He has over 30 years of teaching and research experience and guided over 22 PhD students and published over 200 papers in peer-reviewed journals and conferences. He has served as the general chairs of Asian Test Symposium in 2005, IndoCrypt 2007, and Reversible Computing 2017 as programmer organizing chairs in several conferences in the areas of VLSI design and information security, and delivered a number of invited and tutorial talks. His research interests include VLSI design and test, reversible and quantum computing, limit-based logic synthesis, and network security. He's a senior member of IEEE. So without wasting much words from my side, I'm going to directly welcome and invite Professor Sengupta to address our viewers on today's topic on scopes and opportunities of engineering, specially meant for the tomorrow's engineers. Over to you, sir.
So thank you very much for the nice introduction. So let me start my presentation. Yes. The topic of this discussion today is, as you all know, scope and opportunities for tomorrow's engineers. Well, so the title says two different things. First one is scopes and opportunities, and second part is tomorrow's engineers. That the budding students today, who are the main audiences here, I believe, they will be our tomorrow's engineers. So what are the scopes and opportunities that lay in front of them? So let me try to very briefly summarize my thoughts on this topic. Well, let me first start by trying to tell you what is the definition of an engineer. Who is an engineer? Well, if you do a Google search, if you look at Wikipedia, you will see the meaning of engineer as a person who designs, builds, or maintains engines, machines, and structures. Now, well, this definition which appears, this is more like a legacy. Subsequently, we not only talk about engines, machines, and structures, we talk about so many different things today. we talk about computers, we talk about communication equipments, we talk about automobile systems, and so on and so forth. We talk about missiles. There are so many different areas where this engineering is coming into the picture, and it is the task of the engineers to build and maintain such systems. Now, well, the dictionary meaning may be anything, but what is the actual interpretation? Who are these engineers? Well, let us put it this way. An engineer is a person who can put scientific theories to practice. Well, you imagine a mathematician or a physicist. Well, a mathematician, what is his or her passion? Deriving newer proofs of some theorems, mathematical formulation of some new complex problems, and so on. You see, mathematicians look at the problem of mathematics as a discipline in itself. They very rarely look beyond. So when you ask a mathematician and ask him or her that, well, you have developed or you have derived the proof of a theorem or lemma, where do you think this can be used? Well, some mathematician may say, well, that is not my concern. My concern is to derive a nice proof for this theorem, and I am very much satisfied with that. It is not my task to find out where and how to apply these results. Similar is the case of a physicist. Physicists can invent laws of nature in various different ways and forms, but how they can be translated into products which we can use in our daily lives, that is a different ballgame altogether. And it is there the engineers come into the picture. These scientific theories and mathematical concepts, they try to put them into practice. They try to build products out of them like this. They try to develop some end applications, you can say. Now, well, as a society, what we desire is that the engineers will do something for the betterment of the society. Okay, this is what we desire. But well, a person who is designing a missile, who is designing weapons, they are also engineers. But well, we are basically talking about desirability of engineers. What are the characteristics that we expect from an engineer? Okay, these are the couple of things. Fine. Now, if you look at the present day scenario, well, I know that most of the audience here are the students today. The engineering students of today, if you look at the statistics, they mostly aspire for a job in an IT company. And this is irrespective of the discipline. The student may be studying computer science, IT, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering. But when it comes to looking for a job, seeking a job opportunity, you find that many of them go for IT related disciplines as a career option. But you understand, think of a mechanical engineer, a person who is passing out with a mechanical engineering degree. He or she has spent 4 years of life studying so many different important concepts, theories, and practical aspects of a particular subject. But after 4 years, what the person is doing, he is going to a job where he or she has to do something which is entirely orthogonal to what was taught during those 4 years. This is certainly not a desirable scenario, you can very well understand. Now, what is the ground reality? Why these things are happening? Well, if we look at not all, most of the IT companies of today, they hire people to carry out some very routine kind of tasks. You do not need a computer science graduate to carry out those kind of tasks. Even a student with interdisciplinary background, if you train them with the basic skills, he or she will be good enough to take up this job and carry out very satisfactorily. So the advantage which the companies gain is that they possibly are not having to pay salary as much as they would have paid to a CSE graduate. Okay. So this training is an important part of their hiring process. They hire people from interdisciplinary background, train them for a particular domain, and they push them into a job which requires knowledge or expertise in that domain. But you think, suppose you are a mechanical engineer, you join a company, they train you in some particular aspect of software or software tool, and they put you into a project where you work on that. After 6 months, the project may get over. So what will happen to you? So whatever you have learned over the last 6 months, that is going to waste. You may have to join another project for which you may have to be trained afresh. So this is what is happening most of the time today, which is certainly not a desirable scenario. This is what I'm trying to say. Now, talking about core engineering jobs, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, mining engineering, such jobs still exist. If you go to an industrial plant, a manufacturing plant, there you will see that there are a lot of people who are working towards certain objective. They are either manufacturing a product or they are carrying out an industrial process. Something is being carried out. And there also you need people who understand the process. It is not that you can hire a computer engineer and ask them to run a plant. Not like that. Domain knowledge is very important in such applications. But the difference that is arising here is that if we look at such industrial or manufacturing plants of today, you will find that to a large extent, there is something called automation which has crept in. Nowadays, humans do not operate machines in many critical situations. There are computers who automatically monitor the systems and do this kind of controlling in a much better and safe way. So, if you are recruited for this kind of a company, you will be required in domain knowledge. That is definitely required. But in addition, you will also be required to know how to control these machines with the help of computer. So what are the software that are being used in those computer systems for controlling those industrial plants? Those are the additional knowledges you need to pick up or learn so that you become suitable for this kind of a job. Okay. So typically they require some skills like programming, and as I said, software tools, using embedded systems, Internet of Things, and this kind of things, depending on the kind of domain where you're trying to work. Now, in addition to your core degree, where you are being trained as part of your engineering program, if you consciously train yourself in some of these basic skills, it will be greatly advantageous for you. And when you join a company in the future, you can be an asset to such a company. Okay. Now, if you look into the national scenario, well, at the government level also, there are a lot of planning going on. They say very frequently, well, over the last few decades, we have spent so much money on sponsored research, but what have we got in return? How many of those research have translated into meaningful products? Very few. So now if you look at the outlook of the government and the funding agencies, they all look for goal-oriented research, goal-oriented developments. So we need to train students in technologies that will be required to carry out these kind of activities. So this is a small part of nation building, you can say. If all of us join hands and do our parts and responsibilities, what we are supposed to do, as a community, we can uplift the nation. So a lot of planning has gone in these kind of things. The government has identified a number of trust areas like healthcare, security, IoTs, and many others, robotics. And they are spending a lot of funds for research and development works in these areas. Now, what is happening is that the public sector organizations, they are also encouraged to work in these areas, to do R&D activities in these areas. Even the private parties are encouraged to do so. So what it means is that knowledge in one or more of these areas would be of a great advantage to the students of today who are studying engineering. So you can gear yourself in a much better way for such focused research and development activities with the so-called Make in India spirit which we hear today. You see, Make in India means we want to develop and build something ourselves. Now, this requires a strong interdisciplinary kind of activity. See, you alone, being the expert in one particular discipline, you cannot build a complex product. You need expertise in several different areas. So this is not an easy task. Many different domain experts who join hands come together, and then only you can come up with a meaningful thing. See here, we sometimes only see the end product. Let's take the example of ISRO. They are carrying out so many space missions. We hear about it, we feel happy about it. But if you look about the kind of effort that goes towards building such a thing, and what are the kind of expertises that are required, it is vastly interdisciplinary. You name a discipline, you will find that there are some components in a satellite or a rocket where you need that kind of expertise or technology. Well, artificial intelligence and machine learning is something we all are hearing today. Well, we are somehow made to believe that this is a very new thing. And well, people say us that a major part of computer science is now part of AI and machine learning. But this is more like a buzzword, you know. This artificial intelligence and machine learning is nothing new. This is like an old wine in a new bottle. If you look at the research that was carried out 40 years back, you would find very similar things that existed that time also. These are nothing new. But what is new today is people are trying to apply these methodologies in various specific domains, which was perhaps lacking. What is the reason? Because suppose I am a computer scientist, I do not know anything about mechanical engineering. So unless I know the problems in mechanical engineering, how will I apply AI machine learning to those areas? Now the reverse thing is happening. Engineers in mechanical engineering, they are learning computer science, they are learning artificial intelligence. So they are in a better position to apply these technologies in their own domain. Well, without understanding the domain very clearly, you cannot do anything. That is the bottom line. Okay. So this AI and machine learning, as I told you, this is interdisciplinary. You will find applications in almost any discipline today. the intelligent, the smart cars, there is AI machine learning. Manufacturing, there is AI machine learning. Robotics, drones, everywhere you will find there are applications of these technologies. But for these, what you need some basic knowledge in statistics and programming skills in some specific languages which are very widely used in these applications today, like Python, R, and so on. These are nothing different, these are nothing new. These were studied in engineering disciplines even earlier. But today, we are trying to bring all these things together and try to solve problems in various domains. This is something new that is coming up. Now, the question is, where do we acquire knowledge? See, today, with improvements in communication technology now means all of us are having a smartphone. Almost all of us are having access to smartphones and various kinds of communication technologies. Knowledge is at our fingertips. There are so many online platforms are available. If I want to learn something, study materials which are prepared by experts are readily available there. And most importantly, most of them are available for free. If I want to learn, no one can stop me from learning. Now, some of the recommended platforms are Swayam is an initiative by the government of India. Earlier it was called NPTEL. Now it is Swayam. There are also some Doordarshan channels which they show some programs under Swayam on a regular basis. They telecast this kind of lectures. Coursera, and there are numerous other platforms available today. So if we want to acquire knowledge, there is no dearth of scope for doing that. Now, if you are a prospective engineer, you are an engineering student, I'm assuming you are doing BTech or BE, whatever, you are an engineering student in whatever discipline. The bottom line is that you must gain good knowledge in your core domain. If you are a mechanical engineer, if you are doing mechanical engineering, if you ignore your regular courses in mechanical engineering and go and study computer science, AI, machine learning, looking for jobs, that will not help you in the long run. Maybe you can gain some very short-time gains, but in the long run, you will feel that you are at a tremendous disadvantage because you have not learned your core domain nicely. So good knowledge in the core domain is very important because that will create a platform under your feet, a strong platform. That is very important. Of course, depending on the market demands, you can always acquire additional skills. These additional skills may not be taught in your regular classrooms. You may have to go beyond classrooms, look at alternate sources and acquire this knowledge. This is what I was trying to say. Now, for some of us, entrepreneurship can be an alternative, an alternate career option. Of course, entrepreneurship is not everyone's cup of tea. It requires a different kind of mentality. You have to take a very big risk at the initial stages of your career. You may not be getting salaries for months or years, but if you are passionate about what you are doing, if you are clear with your vision, most probably you will succeed in the long run. Now, the good things here is that if you have some new ideas, you are trying to translate them into products which can be sold, which you can bring to the market. And as a result, you are no longer something called a job seeker. You are not looking for jobs. Rather, you are creating job opportunities for others. And believe me, once you are successful in that, you get a different kind of a satisfaction, which otherwise it is very difficult to get. Now, generally speaking, engineering is a great profession to be in. There are numerous prospects that lie ahead of you, and you will have to pick up what you want to be. Well, of course, academic line is certainly there. You can be an academician, you can go for a teaching profession. That is, of course, there. But we do not call a teacher an engineer, right? Engineer is something who are actually into developing some products. So you can directly involve yourself in building the nation of tomorrow, as I said, by applying your skills in engineering. Now, the point to note is that technology is changing very fast today. So what you have learned today, maybe 5 years down the line, it will become obsolete. So unless you update yourself frequently according to the need of the hour, you yourself may become obsolete with time. And when you become an engineer, when you go to a company, do some job, be in a respectable position, you can always collaborate with academic institution. You can say that that will give you a different kind of a feeling or interaction. Like, I'm giving you a few examples. Like, you can discuss with them and you can mold the curriculum in such a way that whatever it will be taught, they will be very much relevant to the industry. What is actually being done in the industry, there will be very little gap between the two. Because today what is happening, the academic curriculum and whatever is done in the industry, there is often a big gap. That is why after recruitment, the industry people have to train the new recruits a lot for months before they can fit them into a particular job. But in the process, you can interact with the students who are the future generations of engineers. So that should be also one of your responsibilities. You should nurture the future generation of engineers and allow them, give them the opportunity to work on some real world problems. This will gear them up in a much better way to become better next generation engineers. So with this, I stop my short presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for enlightening us. And I'm sure that our present viewers and our would-be viewers who would be watching through Facebook, I'm sure that they'll be highly benefited, as sir has explained very nicely, the scopes and opportunities of tomorrow's engineers. So once again, thank you, sir, on behalf of Narula Institute of Technology. It's a very pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much. So now we are going to listen from another expert, and I'm sure that this name is familiar to most of you who are watching or viewing our session. So we have with us Padma Shri Professor Ajoy Kumar Ray. Presently, he is the director of JIS Institute of Advanced Studies and Research, Kolkata. He was the former director of IIST Shibpur. His outstanding contribution in science and engineering fetched him the very honorable award Padma Shri in the year 2017. Sir has helped the Indian government in several policy making related to academic development. So we have with us our honorable Professor Ajoy Kumar Ray. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, my dear students, faculty members, principal of Narula Institute of Technology, Professor Moitrey Kanjilal, Professor Shormishta Basu, and all the other students. I'm indeed very happy that NiT has organized this program today in memory of one of the greatest personalities of 19th and 20th century of India, and his name is in fact, it is this day, that is on 17th of September, that he was born in a small village of Andhra Pradesh, whose name is Moksha Gundam. And at a very early age, he lost his father. And then he went from Andhra Pradesh to Karnataka, currently Karnataka, had his school education there. And after school education, he joined Pune College of Engineering at Pune. In fact, he was born in 1861. And 1861 means, imagine, that's the year in which Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore also was born. So he was, in a sense, contemporary to Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore. And he lived a very long number of years. He lived for 101 years. That is, he died in 1962. During this very long year of his existence, as one of the outstanding Indian personalities and the first major successful engineer of India, he was hailed by the government of India with Bharat Ratna, and he got numerous other awards as well. So today is not 17th, I think. Today is not Engineers Day, but then it will be, today is which date?
Sir, 14th.
14th, yeah, 3 days afterwards. So, but then in honor of Vishesharaya, we all, we all celebrate this 17th of September throughout the country as the Engineers Day. So let's see that first what Dr. Vishesharaya had done during his lifetime. So as I was mentioning, that in 1884, he got his BTech degree, that is a bachelor's degree, from College of Engineering, Pune. College of Engineering was started more or less in the same time as the Bengal Engineering College of Shibpur, which is now known as IIST Shibpur. And more or less, in the same year, there were 1 or 2 years here and there, around 1854 to 1856. So in 1884, he got his BTech degree. That means just the bachelor's degree those days. And he stood first in his class as the first civil engineer. Now, after when he was a student, he used to see that numerous number of people throughout the country, they used to die out of hunger because famine was a regular event those days. There were two things, either famine or there will be flood. So Vishesharaya used to think a lot about how to change the condition of the people of his motherland. And it was the British era. So Vishesharaya, when he first joined as PWD, PWD is still one of the major sources where people get employment after their, mainly the civil engineers, after their BTECs. So Vishesharaya also started his career there. And the first very important thing he did was for Pune. In Pune, if you go there, there's one very huge reservoir known as Kharkwashla. So there there used to be a lot of, water overflowing and lots of floods those days. And for the first time, he gave the concept of automated gates kind of thing. So it's as if some doors which will be automatically opened once the water level rises above a certain level. So naturally then there will be less chances of of flood. And Kharagpashla was a very big, that was, I think those days it was one of the largest in not only India, in Asia. And he did it very successfully with a series of, it's like, these gates. And that was his big contribution, how the complete network of the river can be taken care of by engineering mechanisms to avoid the flooding. Now, thereafter, he had a long checkered career. He was basically the master of water systems management. Those of you who are in civil engineering department, you will know that water systems management is a very important area. And Vishesharaya, throughout his life, he did. So by effective use of water resources, you can avoid, the flooding, and at the same time, you can also avoid famine by distributing the water in a proper way through canals and all, so that irrigation can reach the poor people. In fact, even today in India, if you see that although the irrigation network has improved a lot, we are talking about a time which is almost, 135 years back, 140 years back. So those days, there was scarcely any irrigation facilities. So people, the farmers, they were dependent only on the vagaries of nature. That means when there will be rain, there will be, crop production. Now, everybody has seen that, and everybody knew engineers were coming out of the institutes. But how many of them could not only think about, many people they have thought about that, okay, we need to do this. But then it was Vishesharaya who took up the challenge and did it. Then, he was made the Diwan of Mysore. And it was in 20th century. He was born in 19th century, as I said, in 1861. In 1900 and possibly 12, he was made the Diwan of Mysore. As Diwan of Mysore, in 7 years' time, from 1912 to 1919, he did a wonderful job, that is Raja Krishna Sagar Dam. If you go to Mysore, you will find that huge dam now. And then that could be again a blessing for the people of Mysore and Karnataka in general, that he made a huge reservoir, and then with completely automated systems of getting, and he could completely erase the flooding in Karnataka, in Mysore those days. And he is considered as the modern architect of the Mysore, complete, those days we used to call them Mohishur, Mysore region. That was a, great contribution. If you go to Hyderabad today, you will find that Hyderabad, Secunderabad, the twin cities, they are connected only through a bridge over the river. And again, Hyderabad, Secunderabad used to be flooded like anything. And again, Vishesharaya came to the rescue, and he was a master of such, design and development of the different type of, the dams different types of such, floodgates. And then he made all of them as automated through his design. So Hyderabad, Secunderabad, twin city, they are also, I mean, really grateful, I should say, to, Sir Vishesharaya. So Vishesharaya was a great person. As I said, that not only just he was a great engineer, the foremost civil engineer in India, but much more than that, he was also a great educationist. You will find that in Bangalore, those Vishesharaya Engineering College, and it was started by him. He took a lot of interest in education. He took a lot of interest in economics. And he was one of the great architects in the nation building in different places. The entire Deccan Plateau, the entire Maharashtra, that is the western part of India, they are, in the design, because those days the major problem was this flood and, famine. Now, as I said, that he died in the year 1861, 1862 possibly. Now, after 101 at the years, during his centenary year, it appears that thousands and thousands, streams of people came to greet him, and the organizers of the centenary year, because hardly, even those days, not many people used to live 100 years. So on his 100th year, so thousands of people, and his nephew had written that I was standing 5 feet away, and I was only looking at the streams of people, which was never ending. It started in the morning and people started coming, and all through the day and evening. He was greeted. They touched his feet. Why? Because they all felt what he has done for them. So he was a great personality. What he has taught us, suppose, for example, those kinds of dams, the gates that he has talked about, the automated design that he has done about, even he went to Eden those days, and then he studied all the dams, big dams. In Mediterranean, he had extensively studied that how the rivers, their courses can be changed, how the canals should be developed. Because those days what used to happen is canals were there, even before Vishesharaya. But canals have got two heads. One is known as the front head, and the one is known as the rear head. Front end head, even those of you who are in villages, you may see, there's a lot of water in the front end. Because canals come from the rivers, it's an artificial canal. But then after some time, you will find that there is no water in the canal. So at the dead end, this side, rear end, there is nothing, no water. So again, it is, and even today, that is the kind of situations in many canals across the country. But Vishesharaya had given a fantastic design so that the canals should always have water for irrigation, because it is not only just, flood control, but irrigation, producing food to us is a major important thing. And he had contributed tremendously in ensuring that irrigation reaches, lakhs and lakhs of our farmers in India. So as I was mentioning, that from those days, from 1961 or 62, here we were, I still remember, I was very small, 1961. And then we didn't know much, but then I still remember that in our school, in a small way, we had celebrated Tagore's birth centenary. So Rabindranath Tagore, everybody, all the Bengalis, we used to know. Even at the age of, I was just 7 years old. So it was a big celebration. And imagine that the same year he was celebrating his birth centenary, and next year he died. After that, almost 50 years have passed. Now, during the last 50 years, as engineers, what has been done and where engineering stands today? That is the major important thing to be understood both by the faculty and by the students of the engineering institutes. So engineering those days even was, it was partitioned engineering. Even today it is partitioned engineering. Partition means what? We have got the different departments. We have got the departments of, mechanical, civil, electrical. Hello? Hello? Huh? Huh? হ্যাঁ আমার একটা ওয়েবিনার চলছে তুমি 1 ঘন্টা বাদে ফোন করো So this is an important aspect that all the engineering disciplines were partitioned. Even today it is like this. And so this partitioned engineering sense, it was there for ages. So engineerings are divided into several disciplines, and then we are studying each one of them separately. And now in first year, you do some common courses, and then usually from second year onwards, or in some cases from the third semester onwards, you start studying the departmental subjects. Otherwise, first 3 semesters is common course. Now, important thing is engineering now is gradually having a shift. Not that there will be no separate partition amongst the departments, but the important thing is now the departments will also be merged in a sense that a lot of things, firstly, which are important for a certain function will be taught. That is, it will become mostly interdisciplinary. What is meant by interdisciplinary? That means it's not only a single discipline which can solve any problem today. Suppose again, on Engineers Day, because in India, engineering started with civil engineering. All the first four engineering institutions. The first engineering institution was at Roorkee. It was started in 1847, not as an engineering college, but it was started as a training institute. In fact, Pune also started as a training institute. And as an engineering college, Shibpur was started in the eastern India, Pune in the western India, Roorkee in the northern area, that is near Hardwar, and in the southern area we had, the Gindi, that is a very big engineering college. Again, so all the four were started more or less in the same time, and Roorkee was started slightly earlier in 1847. And they started as civil engineering department. In fact, Bengal Engineering College, B College, Shibpur was known as Civil Engineering College for quite some time. Then the name was given as Bengal Engineering College. Then it became BESU, Bengal Engineering and Science University. And I was the last vice chancellor of that. Then we made it to IIST Shibpur. So, in fact, interestingly, if you see that a lot has changed and it is still changing and evolving. So first thing is, I'm very happy to say that in our GIS group, already we have initiated certain things so that the interdisciplinariness in engineering and science education, it comes automatically. So there cannot be any engineering without science. So the mathematics department, physics department, chemistry department, they also should be strong. And especially in most of the engineering disciplines, physics and mathematics, mainly, you all are studying in these engineering institutions, electrical sciences, electrical, electronics, computer science, and also you are studying civil, mechanical and all. In all these departments, you need strong mathematics and physics background. And in biotechnology, if it is there in your institution, there you need the biological science, you also need chemistry. But then that does not mean that you do not need physics, because today even in biological domain also physics has entered. So it's known as biophysics. That's a big area. So now, I mean, in every discipline, there is a component of other discipline. Let's take a very simple thing. For example, in JIS group, we do not have any agriculture. Now, in IIT Kharagpur, we have got an agricultural engineering department. Now, in agricultural engineering department, they are supposed to provide, I mean, help the farmers in growing more food. The situation today is that in India, we have got 134 crores of population. And imagine within 30 years, when you, the students of today, you will grow, you will be about say 45, 46 years. Imagine that the total world population will be almost 9 billion, that is 900 crores. So how will we all, the humanity will create so much of food? That's a big problem. With not much of additional, land will be available, but your food production must increase by at least 50%. Whatever food we are producing today, it should increase by 50%. So will you get 50% more additional land? No, no chance, absolutely no. Not only that, there are so many problems today. You may not be knowing that this food, for producing our food, we use 70% of world's water. Water means this, potable drinking water is spent only on producing food. I'm not talking about the sea water or ocean water. So that's a huge thing. 70% of water is required for producing foods. And not only that, the agriculture sector creates maximum amount of carbon dioxide, which is one of the greenhouse gases. Almost 25% of the carbon dioxide footprint that we see today, it is created out of agriculture. Somebody may have a thought that how is it? The plants and the trees, they emit oxygen. They take or they absorb carbon dioxide. That's true. But then it's in an indirect way that carbon dioxide, methane, etc. are produced, the greenhouse gases. So what is interesting and important to know is that we have to take care of so many problems to feed 9 billion of people all over the globe. And most important thing, who will do it? Engineers. Which engineers? Is it agricultural engineers? No, absolutely no. Only agricultural engineers, they cannot do much. You need, much of the agricultural machinery. You need those of you who are in mechanical engineering. You know that you should be experts in designing the agro machineries, agricultural machinery. In all the agro machinery firms, they need many mechanical engineers. Like say in power plant does not mean that, okay, they are generating electrical power, so only electrical engineers are required. No. Even to start a generating station, you need first thing is civil engineer. Then after that, you need lots of mechanical engineers. And then you need electrical engineers as well. But is it only civil, mechanical, electrical only? No. You need, without electronics, you cannot do anything. Without computer science, you cannot do anything in today's engineering. How, you may ask? How that in agricultural engineering, how do you require electronics? Because in today's agriculture, we need to ensure that it is precision agriculture. What is precision agriculture? That means in the field only, you have to distribute a lot of sensors. Now, these are the kind of sensors which will constantly monitor that how much amount of water will be required by the soil. What is the condition of the soil? How much amount of rainfall has been there? How much is the retentivity of the rainwater there in the field? What is the weather now? So many things, okay? And those things will be, who will sense that? Sensors. Who will design those sensors? Electronics engineers. Not only them, metallurgical engineers, chemical engineers, physicists, chemists, all together will have to generate all these different type of sensors. And then those sensors, the sensed parameters will be, who will do the analysis of that sensing? It will be analyzed by a computer. So we say that you need analytics. Huge amount. Imagine that if we could transform our this lands, agricultural lands, into an electronics and computer science, laboratory, it will be a huge thing. Huge amount of data will be generated. We waste water. How do we waste water? Because the farmers, they will keep on giving water. Now, water incessantly is not required. When rain comes, continuous water pouring. So what you have to do is you have to control the input of water. You should give water, only that much water which is required for the soil. Nothing much, nor shortage of water. Both are bad. So these things now will have to be controlled. Who will do the control? Electrical engineers, electronics engineers. How the data will be monitored, who will look after that? Big computers. And today, since there will be huge amount of such data, this data is stored in the cloud. So computer science people, they come into the picture. So it will be stored in the cloud where you have to do the analytics on the data. So it's a beautiful thing. See, from agriculture, they were producing food in the, farmers were producing food in the agricultural land. And today you may say that, and you are saying that everybody has got there. Everyone, it is mechanical engineers for agro machineries. It is electrical engineers for control. It is electronics engineers. And for making the sensors, it is computer science engineers for really analyzing the entire scenario. So there is huge amount of, hello? হ্যাঁ আমাকে বিদ্যুৎ বললো হ্যাঁ 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 আচ্ছা আমি এক্ষুনি একটা ওয়েবিনার দিচ্ছি ওই ইঞ্জিনিয়ার্স ডে উপলক্ষে। এইটা হতে হতে আর ওই আধ ঘন্টা বাদে। হ্যাঁ ঠিক আছে, 5:40, ঠিক আছে, আচ্ছা। And in between, Atmanirbhar Bharat has come. So some newspapers, they called me to say a few words about what we are doing on this COVID. So COVID again has been one of the menace. So it is not only the COVID. For agricultural plants, there are different types of diseases, agricultural plant diseases. Now, gone are the days when the farmer, the poor farmer, he goes to the field and then he looks at these different types of worms which has infested. and then he doesn't know that what kind of chemical to give, fertilizer, pesticides, how much amount to be given. So today the day has come when everything will be determined by the analytics. And then only the country will be able to produce such a huge amount of food which will be required for everybody. You know, we do not want that even today, large number of people, they go to bed without food. It is so pathetic. The agricultural engineering and along with all other engineers will have to solve the problem. Since we are not solving the problem, we are not applying engineering, so that's why, you know, people say that, okay, there is no job. Imagine that I can tell you, I was planning to write a big article to the government that simply to automate the entire thing in agriculture for food growing, how many engineers will be required? Huge number of engineers will be required. And in every discipline. In the field itself, you can take a camera. You need, say, lots of mobile phones. They have invested everywhere. So you need a camera, you take the photograph, then you send it to the agricultural expert sitting either in Kollam University or in IIT Kharagpur. And then they can say that, okay, what is the kind of, the disease which the plant is suffering from. And tomorrow's agriculture, you don't need to send anything to anybody. You just simply click your mobile, take the photograph, and you have to write a code. It should be within the mobile only. In the mobile will tell you that, okay, this is the disease which has, which is infected on the plant. So imagine that is what is technology. So engineering today, it has moved a lot in the last 50 years, and there is no area of human endeavor where we do not require engineers. We require engineers and all kinds of engineers in every discipline. But what is that kind of engineers? Even today's, as I said, that agricultural engineer will have to know computer science, bit of electronics, etc. Similarly, for example, the civil engineers in Narula Institute of Technology. You also will have to know, like in Shibpur when I was there as director, so we used to get a lot of civil engineering projects in our civil engineering department. And then they were doing some government jobs. For example, Howrah Bridge. So Howrah Bridge, how do you Howrah Bridge monitoring, because the condition of Vidyasagar Setu is not very good because it was started long back and you need periodic maintenance and checking. So I was talking to the professor in charge that, sir, why don't you, he's a very senior professor. I used to tell him that, why are you doing it like this? You put the sensors and then let there be a big server in it will be a wireless sensor. There will be some kind of an, as we call it, as a fog processor near that Howrah, where toll taxes are taken. And from there, it can be sent to Shibpur, to IIST, which is not very far away. And then there we can do the full analytics, continuous monitoring of the bridge, the sensors, which may be, the strain sensor, the stress sensors, and different types of sensors, LVDT sensors, whatever are required, that the civil engineers will know it much better than me. So whether there is any structural problem, whether there is any materials problem, so you have to find out those things and then you have to take the necessary actions. So in a very big system, now fault analysis has become a major problem. And fault analysis means, for example, in such a huge Howrah Bridge, first Howrah Bridge, imagine that Ravindra Setu, there are, so many thousands of nuts and bolts and this and that. Civil engineers, you will know it better, is the first cantilever bridge in Asia. Now, if you have to take care of that, then you need to have an automated complete system. You do not know that where is the fault. Like a human body, it's a very complicated system. So you have to know exactly where is the fault. So for that, a fault detection and recognition, just like a human body, in engineering systems, big, 100-story building, you have to find out that where is the fault exactly. Suppose there's a pipeline, huge, hundreds of miles it goes, oil pipeline, gas pipeline. So you have to know that where is the problem inside the pipeline, even in water pipeline. We could not even do that. In water pipeline, in many cases, we are getting contaminated water because the pipeline has got some problem somewhere in between. So the major problem is not in engineering, not in the science of engineering or the technology of engineering. The major problem is the government, they should understand the need for employing science and technology in the human life, everywhere. You ask me any area of human life, you cannot live even for a second without science and technology. So government, the earlier, not just simply saying that our best wishes to engineers or our best wishes to teachers on Teachers' Day, not like that. They have to identify the problems and they have to give proper, they have to design and plan everything from science and technology perspective. This is one thing I have been